Let's talk about the gross rent multiplier. What is happening, YouTube? It's Matt Faircloth. Thank you for watching. Today's question comes from Brian. Brian, thank you for your question. So Brian wants to talk about something that's a little technical. You probably hear brokers throwing this word around and stuff like that. And that's the gross rent multiplier. People also talk about G.R.M, the gross rent multiplier. Now, there's a way simpler way that people talk about it as well. It's the same thing, and it's called the 1 to 2% rule. People, especially if you're active on bigger pockets, people talk about 1% rule, 2% rule. So what that means is the 1 to 2% rule is that if I buy a property for $100,000 if the property abides by the 1% rule, I multiply that 1% by 100,000, my purchase price, and that yields what rent I should be getting if it's on the 1% rule. Now, people will say, well, I only buy at the 1% rule and I try and buy at the 2% rule, of course, means if I pay $200,000 multiplied by 2%, I should be getting about $2,000 a month in rent, right? So people use that as a indicator, a way to decide if a deal is good or not, right? There's so many factors, so many more factors to go into this thing, and evaluating a property just based on the rent that it brings in is very dangerous, because the one thing that it doesn't consider at all is expenses. Okay, so all that being said, the gross rent multiplier rule is very similar to the 1 to 2% rule, but here's how it goes. Okay. You have to factor in all the things that there's a little more you factor in, but it's just a fancy way of saying the same thing. So the gross rent multiplier equals the price of a property, and the way I'm defining that is the price that you pay for a property to purchase it, all your closing costs, and everything that you do to renovate it up to market value. That's the price. So all your investment in the property when you buy it. So price plus renovation. So that's that here. Then you divide that by the gross rent that you will get in the property per year. Now, when I say gross rent, I don't mean like, oh, geez, that's so gross. I mean like gross rent as in rent minus, not including vacancy, not with anything else taken out of it. So just the potential rent. Okay. So that's, people talk about net rent and gross rent. Gross rent's the bigger number, meaning it doesn't have any deductions taken out of it or concessions or vacancy loss or whatever. Okay. So you take the price of everything you paid to invest in the property, so all that, divided by the gross rent per year. So for properties abiding by the 1% rule, your gross rent multiplier will be 12, right? So because it's not per month, it's per year. Okay. And so, or people can talk about the annual gross rent multiplier or the monthly gross rent multiplier. You can get real techie on this if you want. So that's how you calculate it. But the important thing that you guys want to consider here is the 1 to 2% rule, gross rent multiplier, and even cap rate a little bit, because cap rate considers in expenses and whatnot too. But those rules of thumb are somewhat dangerous because they don't factor in expenses. So you could have a property that's operating at 25-30% of rent and expenses, or you could have a property that's a pig and is operating at 70% of rent and expenses. They would look the same basis this evaluation. There's so many questions you have to ask, like especially on a 1 to 4 unit, like Brian's asking here, like, well, who's paying the heat? Who's paying the utilities? Who are we managing it in-house, or are we going to sub it out? So many different factors that drive the expenses on a property that will make it profitable or not on a small 1 to 4 unit deal. So Brian, the G.R.M is a great rule of thumb, but it is just that. It is a rule of thumb. So if somebody approaches you with a deal to say, hey, Brian, I got a deal for you. It's $500,000 to buy this property. Needs some work. You might have to put another $100,000 into it. So you'd be all in for $600,000, and you're going to get, it's a 4-unit property. You're going to get like $700 a unit per month. You can do the math real quick and say, okay, I have to invest $600,000 and I'm going to get 7 times 4. That's $2,800 per month. Wait a minute. That might not be a good deal. Because the G.R.M typically will tell you if it's a bad deal on the low side, but it might not tell you if it's a bad deal on the high side, meaning somebody might tell you, hey, same deal, $600,000 all in, and you're going to get $3,000 a unit, which is, times 4, 12 grand. So, hey, 6, I get 12 grand a month in rent. That sounds awesome. But they might not tell you, oh, yeah, you also got to pay an HOA fee, and also you have to pay the the utilities, or all the utilities are all paid by the owner. And oh, by the way, this is a seasonal rental, so the tenants aren't there 9 months out of the year. I forgot to tell you that too. So a lot of these factors all come into play on this, and so you have to look at the whole enchilada. But it is a good way to tell if it's a bad. So the bottom line, here's the takeaway: the GRM 1% rule, 2% rule will probably tell you if a deal is a bad deal off the cuff. Like, oh geez, the spread between rents and price is not right, which means it's just the price is way too high for the rents that you're going to get. It'll probably indicate that. But if it looks like a good deal based on the GRM 1% or 2% rule calculations, it may still not be a good deal. So you should not buy just on that. You got to do your calculations and your everything. So kind of a little off topic, Brian, or went a little deeper than your question here, but thanks for instigating a good conversation on the GRM and all that. So thank you, Brian. Thank you guys for watching. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video and all that, which I appreciate you guys doing. And like our Facebook page too. We're getting a lot of traction on our Facebook page, so check that out. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a great and profitable week.